Part 3, Building Empathy. Why building empathy matters. It's a fundamental aspect of nurturing relationship. Empathy is not just a nice-to-have skill. It's a fundamental aspect of nurturing relationships that truly matter. In a world often driven by division and misunderstanding, empathy has the power to bridge the gap and build bonds that go beyond words. Empathy in daily life. Imagine this. In your daily interaction with friends, family, colleagues, and even strangers, empathy plays a pivotal role. Without it, you might find yourself unable to truly connect with others, to understand their joys and sorrows, and to provide genuine support. Understanding others' emotions. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in others' shoes, to comprehend their emotional landscape. It's not just hearing their words, it's feeling their emotions and offering a hand of understanding. So for those that have the ability to empathize with others organically, where it comes effortlessly and natural, you might understand what empathy is and how you use it in your day-to-day life, because it is something that allows you to truly connect with individuals, because you are indeed placing yourself in their shoes and you are resonating with the emotional state that you are feeling that they are experiencing. Therefore, knowing what to say from the experience that maybe you had when experiencing that very emotional state. Bringing me into how important allowing ourselves to experience certain emotional states allows us to cultivate the proper landscape and mindset and ability to connect with others and create truly meaningful connections, because we're not seeing them as anyone outside of our experience. In fact, we are resonating with their experience because we ourselves can remember when we too may have experienced something similar. And because we have experienced something similar, it becomes easier for us to assist and support and guide them and give proper advice based on our own experience, based on how we may have overcame something that they are currently experiencing. The same applies if we are going through an experience and we experience someone who knows how to empathize with us. We quickly realize that we feel truly supported. We feel understood. We feel like they are listening, but not only listening, they are truly and fully understanding what we are going through, because the way they are speaking and empathizing with me and showing me the nurturing ability that they have towards a situation allows me to feel understood and nurtured and cared for, which is an element of love, right? And when you are experiencing healthy empathy, because there's also toxic empathy, but when you are in the element of healthy empathy, you don't feel responsible to heal them or take over their problems or anything like that. That's more people pleasing. That's coming also from a wound. But when you are in your healthy empathy, you are simply giving and allowing space for the individual to go through the emotional state that they need to go through and experience so that they can process it. And sometimes by us being able to empathize with them and be their support and their shoulder to lean on, we are giving them the opportunity to be vulnerable and open about what they're going through. Therefore, by them expressing that vulnerability with you, because you give them the comfort and the space to do so, you allow them to not hinder or attach themselves to the emotions, but you are their companion through the processing of it. And in that process, you create genuine bonds that allow you to feel more closeness and more intertwined with the individual, because you are experiencing an intimacy that comes from maybe not the much so pleasant experience, right? But because out of that unpleasant situation came something so beautiful, it almost counteracts the experience and the emotional state by just simply being there, right? Because sometimes all we need to do is be there and listen. There's not much to do or say. Sometimes just being there and listening and allowing the space is all that's necessary. Practices for building empathy. Bringing me into the first one, which is active listening. Just like I've explained with healthy space, active listening would be the first practice to building empathy. In your interactions, practice active listening. Instead of merely hearing words, strive to truly understand the emotions and perspectives behind them. Because when we listen, we allow the other individual to feel heard and understood. And when someone feels heard and understood, they feel that you have the empathy that is necessary to give that nurturing and support that creates bonds, right? That creates closeness with individuals, which is crucial because you are relating with them. Which brings me to the next practice. Put yourself in their shoes. When faced with a different viewpoint, pause to consider how it might feel to be in the other person's situation. This simple act of perspective taking can be incredibly enlightening. So, besides the fact that the other person feels understood, heard, and like you do understand their situation because you are placing themselves in their shoes and you feel what they're feeling through the resonance of those emotions, by placing yourself in their shoes through the situation, for example, you are also learning through their experience. Sometimes we learn from experiences and not even have to go through the elements of our own experience, because by learning by others' experiences, we learn a lot of the things that we should and shouldn't do based on what we perceive, based on what we have observed, based on the outcome that these situations have brought upon those that we cherish and care for. And from that experience, we learn to choose in accordance to what we have learned through these experiences. Bringing us into the third practice, which is ask open-ended questions. Encourage open dialogue by asking open-ended questions. These questions invite deeper sharing and greater understanding. Because like I said, you're experiencing this intimate moment together as a friend, as a parent, as a sister, as a brother, as a teacher, as a complete stranger. It doesn't even matter. And with that, you can feel free to go further in, so together you explore more of the situation and how maybe together you can find resolution, right, in the emotional state that is currently occurring, and how we can see things differently with a different lens of perception, right, that will maybe enlighten both of you in that experience so that you can gain a better understanding, right, and share different meanings as to what something might be, and maybe how is it happening for you, and what are you learning from, right? What are you learning from this experience? You know, how do you feel now that you have experienced this going forward? You know, and at that moment it might not be the permanent answer, right? Because under certain emotional states we might not always answer accurately what we truly want, because these emotions might dictate those answers. But at least at the moment you can experience what is it that you're currently feeling, so that by observing and becoming aware of the current state of that moment, you reflect on it later and you put it as database for yourself in your knowing of self through the experiences that allow you to cultivate that knowledge of self, and put it towards your preferences, your values, your standards, and your boundaries, right? Depending on the situation. So it's always going to serve you in the long run. But if you learn how to use it for your advantage, every moment can be cultivated for our benefit. Now, another point of view I want to bring up is the boundaries of empathy. While building empathy is essential, it's also vital to understand what empathy is not. It doesn't mean you have to solve all of others' problems or take on their pain as your own. Boundaries and self-love are crucial on your journey to self-mastery, as empathy should coexist with a healthy sense of self. Now, we have to realize here that even though being empathetic can be useful and healthy and supportive of others, we have to also make sure we point out what empathy is not, right? So that we have those set boundaries and not get stuck in any form of people pleasing or overextending ourselves, right? To our detriment. So for one, fixing everything, right? Empathy is not fixing everything. Empathy does not require you to be a problem solver superhero. You can empathize with someone's pain without taking on the responsibility of solving every issue they face. Because also, by us always being there to fix all of their issues, we are also placing them in a disadvantage where they can't build their own confidence and reassurance and resilience through their own process of life, therefore not becoming their full potential if we are always holding their hand. So we have to learn when to be and when not to be, when to do and when not to do. So great discernment is key here, because with the proper discernment, we'll be able to read the situation properly and know when to step in and when not to step in based on the circumstances and the situation and how crucial it is. And sometimes allowing people to just experience their life and their choices so that from that they learn. The next one is taking on their emotions. It's not about absorbing someone else's emotions to be detriment to your own well-being, as you can have empathize without allowing their emotions to overpower you. So when we feel that maybe we are allowing the space, we're being supportive, but now because you did this, now every day they're coming with the same story, and it's the same situation, about the same problem, about the same relationship. Here you need to make sure you set that boundary and communicate how you really feel and say, hey, I love to be there for you and empathize with your situation, but right now I have to work on a few things on my end, and I have to make sure that I am emotionally and mentally capable of doing so. So I would also appreciate if you can respect that time that I need so that I can do that for myself, so that I can be better suited, so that when I am there for you, I am fully there, right? So sometimes simply communicating honestly and authentically about your true feelings and setting firm boundaries is all you really need to maintain that, and not having to being overwhelmed and bombarded with their emotions, right? If they're constantly now codependent of you. Which brings me to the last one of what empathy is not. So sacrificing your needs. Empathy doesn't mean sacrificing your own needs for the sake of others. It's about finding a balance between understanding and maintaining your own standards and boundaries, right? Which is what I just gave an example of. So now that we know what empathy is not, we're going to go into what benefits there are on building empathy, right? What are the benefits of building empathy? So the first one is deeper connections, as I also explained, as empathy cultivates deeper, more profound connections with those around you. It's the glue that binds relationship based on trust and understanding. The next one we have is conflict resolution. With empathy, you become adept at resolving conflict. You can see situations from different angles and find common ground, ultimately fostering harmony. And for the last, it seems to be the same one, because personal growth is always going to be the benefit of everything here, because that is why we're doing it. Building empathy isn't just about others. It's a powerful tool for personal growth. It enriches your emotional intelligence and enhances your self-mastery journey. Conclusion. In part 3 of Nurturing Emotions and Relationships, we've explored the profound realm of empathy, the glue that binds meaningful connections and nurtures relationships. Building empathy isn't just a skill. It's a transformative practice that can enhance the quality of our life. It enables us to understand and connect with others on a deeper level, fostering trust, conflict resolution, and personal growth. As we continue our journey towards self-mastery, remember that empathy is a faithful companion, enriching our relationships and our understanding of the world around us. And for the question of the lesson we have, what's one small step you'll take today to nurture a healthier emotional space within yourself and foster more meaningful connections with those around you? I would love for you guys to feel free to share your answers to these questions on our community tab and chats, so that together we can learn together, we can grow together, we can get feedback from each other and share experiences that we've overcome, so that we can inspire and motivate others by the example that we may lead. Also, as in every lesson, I like to highlight the possible challenges that the lessons may bring, because everything has pros and cons, and I like to give disclaimers on what that would be, so that you can understand that it is normal to feel these challenges. It is normal to think and feel and perceive and all of the above. You are not alone through this process. This is why I like to build the community that I have the intention to build here, so that when we are feeling these discomforts and emotions and whatever it may be, we have the support of one another here to cultivate the necessary environment so that we can all flourish together, right? So here are some potential challenges. Number 1, overwhelming emotions. When working on releasing guilt and shame, you may confront intense emotions from past experiences, which can be emotionally taxing. Number 2, difficulty in forgiveness. Forgiving oneself or others can be challenging, especially for deeply ingrained guilt and shame, as it may take time and effort to fully let go. Number 3, balancing boundaries. While building empathy, maintaining healthy boundaries can be a challenge. You might struggle to empathize without feeling overwhelmed by others' emotions. Number 4, misunderstanding. As you practice emotional intelligence, you might encounter misunderstanding or misinterpretations in your efforts to navigate others' emotions effectively. Number 5, resistance to change. It can be challenging to shift your perspective or become more empathetic, as these changes may challenge existing belief systems and habits. Number 6, skepticism or cynicism. You might encounter skepticism or cynicism from others when you attempt to apply the principles of empathy and emotional intelligence in your relationships. Number 7, fear of vulnerability. Building empathy and open communication can make you feel vulnerable. You might fear rejection or judgment when sharing your own emotions. Number 8, time and consistency. Nurturing emotions and relationships requires time and consistency. It can be a challenge to maintain these practices constantly in a busy or unpredictable life. These challenges are normal and can be overcome with patience and persistence. They are an integral part of the growth process on your journey to self-mastery and nurturing meaningful relationships. And now, as we finish lesson 4, here is some of the last pages I have for you guys, which is me sharing my own personal information as your trainer today, as well as our social information where you can follow us on social media, as we would appreciate the support and follow and sharing, as well as our website where you can reach us and find out more information. Thank you.